I love bourbon, but I'm not ready to restart my career and be a distiller. I have a bachelor's degree, and I want to continue to use those skills in the whiskey industry. So check this out. The University of Louisville now has an online distilled spirits business certificate that focuses on the business side of the spirits industry, like finance, marketing, and operations. This is perfect for anyone looking for more professional development. And if you ever want to get your MBA, the certificate credits transfer into U of L's new online MBA program. Learn more about this online program at ufl.me/pursue spirits. How fast can you go through like 15 bourbons?
I'd be done now if you weren't asking me so many questions.
Welcome back. It's episode 224 of Bourbon Pursuit. I'm one of your hosts, Kenny, and here's your weekly bourbon news roundup. Last Thursday, Heaven Hill announced Elijah Craig is launching their Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. This is made from Heaven Hill's only rye mash bill, which is 51% rye, 35% corn, and 14% malted barley. The same mash bill that you're going to see for Rittenhouse as well as Pikesville. With an SRP of only $29.99, Elijah Craig Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey will first launch in limited markets of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Oregon in January of 2020. Now, when you hear about a release like this, we typically hear about most people, especially in Kentucky, being kind of upset about its lack of market penetration. So we actually reached out to our contacts at Heaven Hill to see what the response was. And this was a decision by the brands to focus on markets based on a variety of needs. This could be from building a brand on premise, competitiveness in a particular market, or to slow roll a product based on aged inventory. Now, for this release, there was no one single reason, but you can read more about this post on Instagram with the link in our show notes. Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible has announced that last week his top whiskey of 2020 was 1792 Full Proof. Second was the 2018 William Drew Weller, and third was the 2018 Thomas H. Handy, meaning that Sazerac swept all top 3 whiskeys of the world for Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. Now, continuing on the trend of Buffalo Trace, they are also releasing their next installment in the Old Charter Oak series called Canadian Oak. In late 2018, Buffalo Trace announced its Old Charter Oak series. It's a collection exploring the different taste profiles of barrels obtained from trees grown in different countries, climates, and soils. For this newest release, Buffalo Trace obtained a small number of barrels from Canada and filled them with mash number 1. This is the same mash bill used for Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare. Canadian oak trees differ from American oak trees that they are harder and have tighter grain structure, which affects the bourbon as it ages. The Old Charter Oak's Canadian Oak was aged for 10 years and will be available in retail in late October. The suggested retail price will be $69.99. While we're talking about new releases, let's not forget about Angel's Envy and their annual cask strength release. Angel's Envy cask strength begins as standard Angel's Envy bourbon. It's made with a mash bill of 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley, aged first in new charred oak barrels, but finished in barrels that once held port wine. As these barrels are tasted throughout the year, a few are set aside to age longer and be bottled at cask strength for its special annual release. This year's release will clock in at 122.4 proof with 7 different ages as port finished bourbon of 6, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, and 15 years old that are mixed to create this final blend. The bottle will come packaged in a wooden Art Deco style box for a suggested retail price of around $200. And the last release we're going to talk about isn't actually bourbon. Heck, it's not actually even whiskey. It's a gin, and it's called Tovis, and it's only available in the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. This is a big deal because the owner of this brand is none other than Amazon. Yes, Amazon is getting into the spirits business, and this is now available to order online at amazon.co.uk. This is another one of those things that we may see as a small ripple, but could potentially end up being a tidal wave years down the road. You can read more about this with the link to beveragedaily.com in our show notes. Bottled-in-Bond. It's one of the revolutionary moments of American history, but has also become near and dear to the hearts of many bourbon lovers, and with good reason. We covered the in and outs of Bottled-in-Bond with Bernie Lubbers back on episode 89, and it is also part of our Bourbon 101 podcast on our website. But now, since we know why Bottled-in-Bond is important, let's move on to what Bourbon Pursuit is going to claim as the best Bottled-in-Bond bourbon in 2019. We take a total of 12 heavyweight contenders and put them in a blind in what we're calling the Bottled-in-Bond Showdown. Who's going to pull ahead and become the champion this year? Well, just wait and find out. All right, let's get down to it. Here's Joe from Barrel Bourbon, and then you've got Fred Minnick with Above the Char.
Hi, Joe from Barrel Bourbon here. Myself and our master distiller, Trip Stimson, spend weeks choosing barrels to create a new batch. We meticulously sample every barrel to make sure the blend is absolutely perfect. Lift your spirits with Barrel Bourbon.
I'm Fred Minnick, and this is Above the Char. This week's idea comes from Patreon subscriber Brian Shabbat. He asks, should bourbon enthusiasts stop complaining and embrace premium pricing for premium bourbon? Macallan 25-year-old for $2,000 is acceptable, but $1,500 for Pappy 20 is considered price gouging? Brian also wants to know what's the possible economic implications for premium pricing. Now, this story really goes back to the 1960s when bourbon is kind of changing its business model. Up until the 1960s, you saw bottled-in-bond bourbon and even straight bourbons really kind of competing with Scotch as a premium on the shelf, even cognac. So cognac would have been, and other brandies would have been considered the creme de la creme. And Scotch and bourbon were kind of, neck and neck. Scotch was also dubbed more blends. This was when Scotch was predominantly a blended category. Now, in the 1960s, Scotch starts going toward a more premiumization, and they focused on single malts, while bourbon decided to do things like lower their proof points from like 100 or 107 to 86 and 80, and they started becoming the everyday man's whiskey. And so they were basically setting the market up to take on the blue-collar workers, the people who were fixing sinks and doing construction and in the military. Everything that they were doing was really geared around people who had a budget, while Scotch was focusing on the people on Wall Street and bankers and people who owned businesses. They put a lot of effort into, building this esteem. At the same time, they were also putting away whiskey. They were putting away a lot of whiskey that would age up to, 50 years. And today we see them coming on the market for $1 million or more at auction. Now today, bourbon is so popular that distillers have had to increase their prices to kind of deal with demand. And it often gets pushback. And there's one brand that always comes out as unpopular in this conversation, and that's Pappy Van Winkle. Now, when Brian asked about $1,500 for a Pappy 20, it always has to be pointed out that the distillers are not the ones setting that price. That is not the SRP for Pappy Van Winkle. And so the argument can be made that the SRPs for these premium bourbons don't necessarily reflect what people are willing to pay. So the question is, should people increase their suggested retailer's price? I don't know. I think it's still pretty cool to have a glimmer of hope that maybe you can get a bottle of Four Roses limited edition for the SRP of 100 or 150 or whatever it is versus 500 to 1,500 that you'll find it in some retail stores. But it also gives bourbon a little bit of a black eye, because it's never good to increase prices 200, 400, 600% year after year after year. And that's essentially what's happening right now. So there is a way to increase prices, and I just don't know what the best way is. Scotch, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be short of those $1 million bottles anytime soon. And that's this week's Above the Char. Hey, if you have an idea for Above the Char, become a Patreon subscriber and share with me your ideas. You can check us out at Bourbon Pursuit on Patreon. Until next week, cheers.
Welcome back to another episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of bourbon. And today welcome back. We are the trio. We're back here again with an awesome, this is gonna be a fun episode. But first, I gotta say that shout out to Hotel Distilled. This is where we're recording today. We're actually in the barrel room here, and this is located on historic Whiskey Row and is gonna be opening on November 1st here in downtown Louisville. It's gonna be a place that has, first we talked about it on the last podcast. It is used to be the home of JTS Brown. It's got an exciting history, and it's now transformed into this beautiful, beautiful space. So it's going to be designed to really ignite your passion for discovery and will be the anchor for Louisville's revitalization and refinement of bourbon culture. You can book your true, authentic experience and stay at hoteldistill.com. So
it's badass.
It is sweet.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Sweet.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what's going to happen. If you're watching this on video, they talked about so they have these barrels behind us, and they've got taps on them. They're going to be having barrel-aged tapped cocktails like right here within inside of this room. So I'm kind of stoked to see what that's about.
Yeah, but they won't actually be aging in the barrel. They're going to be in like a sleeve or a bladder, because that's the only way you can technically do that legally.
like a box of wine.
So they will be
be like Franzia.
aged.
Yeah,
Slap the bag.
Yep, Franzia.
Do you slap the bag?
I have before.
I've done it on a boat once or twice.
Yeah.
So if you've never played that game before, ask somebody that has a boat on a lake.
And Franzia.
And Franzia. All right,
Okay,
so
slap the bag. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to slap the Bottled-in-Bond.
Yeah.
This is going to be the Bottled-in-Bond Showdown. So we are selecting what we can find as one of our favorites of 12 different Bottled-in-Bond every day. And I think we've got one that's outside of Kentucky. We got one George Dickel, but the other ones, these are all Kentucky. And, this was a culmination of grabbing stuff in our basements, heading to the liquor store.
I didn't add anything, sorry.
Yeah, going to the liquor store and finding these. And, I think it's going to be kind of fun to kind of go through this because, Ryan, I'm going to test your knowledge real quick because, we've talked about Bottled on the show before. We've had Bernie Lubbers on. Give folks an understanding of what the Bottled-in-Bond Act and what it was really there for.
Gosh, I feel like that's a Fred question.
Well, no,
Like
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's you flex some muscle.
We'll get him back.
Okay,
we'll get
so
him back.
it has to be at least 4 years old, right? Mm-hmm. It has to state the distilling season. Is that right?
I don't know if it's the distilling season. It has to be distilled in a single season.
Or it has to be distilled in a single season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, I've already got it wrong.
Keep going.
Okay.
100 proof.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it has to be in a bonded warehouse.
Obviously.
What else am I missing?
So it has to be distilled at one distillery and one distilling season.
One distillery, okay.
And it has to be 100 proof, at least 4 years old.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I hit them all.
You hit all the major points.
And they need to disclose the distillery and all that stuff where it's bottled.
Yes.
And this is guys. I know we see this on the bottle and we look at it for like quality purposes, but I want people to realize how important the Bottled-in-Bond Act of 1897 was. First of all, Grover Cleveland signed this into law. This was his last thing he signed in his first term. And he was the Bottled-in-Bond Act was really our very first consumer protection legislation as a country. So now we have all these protection measures to help us as consumers, and it really begins with Bottled-in-Bond, with the government trying to protect us from bad whiskey in the medicinal circles. And it's important to note that it had a lot of backlash, like the blenders and the rectifiers and the Canadian whiskey makers were very much against the Bottled-in-Bond Act. So this was one of the first times that the Kentucky distillery community banded together for a single cause, and that was to get this passed.
Now they just sue each other.
Well, they still help each other here and there, but distilleries love to sue.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's part of the game now.
By the way, I feel like I'm looking at the longest shot ski ever. Like I feel like I'm about to do like my 21st birthday.
It is. We've got 12 different bourbons that are lined up, and these were ones. We've got one that is kind of the newest addition to this, which is the new 7-year Heaven Heaven Hill
old.
Bottled-in-Bond. And there was it was funny because I was actually trolling to the liquor store last night, and I was actually flabbergasted. I was like, man, I forgot how many Bottled-in-Bond bourbons there were out there. And then not only that,
Usually they're great values too.
well, and that's what they usually are, typically good values. But some of the ones I selected, when I was going through and I was looking, there were also, there's Bottled-in-Bonds that are coming from Oregon and other places. But I said, let's focus on some of the stuff that's pretty regional, or should I say not regional, but pretty national, can be found on a national level. At the same exact time, there's also a lot of bourbons out there that are 100 proof, but it doesn't actually say bottled in bond or bond. The word bond is not on the package. So I just overlooked it and said, we'll go on next.
Yeah.
And then, probably there's probably two more that should be in here that just couldn't bring it to get our hands on it because this is Louisville and people go crazy because it's bourbon, is the E.H. Taylor brand. So the small batch and the single barrel are not a part of this because
Yeah, I didn't. I saw that bottle and I was going to bring it in, but I was like, I'm not going to share that with those fuckers. That's mine. I'm kidding.
I'm going with the value pours.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
And the other side of this is we didn't choose any of the highly allocated releases. The Old Fitzgerald spring and fall releases, the Parker's 24-year Bottled in Bond.
And also,
stuff
we
like
also
that.
didn't bring any media samples. So these are all things that we actually physically purchased, and that's very important to note because most competitions they get their whiskey from the supplier, so the distilleries will send it into the competition. So these are guaranteed. All have came from a retailer.
Mm-hmm. Well, just in full disclosure, this Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond did come from Heaven Hill. They
Oh,
did
really?
send this
Yeah,
one. This
okay.
was the media sample they sent. Everything else, though, has been
Okay.
purchased by us in
Not by me, but
some
Fred
way,
Minnick.
shape, or fashion. It all goes in the Bourbon Pursuit credit card, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
So that's why we're not getting checks.
I know. I'm waiting on this disbursement.
all right, so let's go ahead. We got 12 to go through, so we'll dive in. Kind of start with the
Well,
first
I think
one here.
you remember I said I wanted to talk a little bit about the taste
Oh,
system
yeah.
here.
He keeps smelling my glasses.
Well,
Back
so
off.
I'm just trying to make sure that they're the same because they're not numbered. First of all, this tasting is flawed because we don't have the same glass for every one of them. So we will now have to take in account.
Some of them are neat pours or neat glasses. I would say we've got 95% majority
95 are in the Glencairn. But this is close enough
Well,
to the
that's my
Glencairn.
fault. I brought the knee glasses. That's the only thing I contributed. It was the wrong glass.
But it's okay. But so that's the only thing. And this is actually a pretty small flight for a blind tasting. This is all blind. We don't know what we know that these brands were poured, but we don't know in what order. And as we're tasting,
we're gonna find out.
we gotta eliminate.
is always
You gotta
best.
eliminate and everything. But I think we should also give our notes to the audience as we're thinking.
Absolutely. So we'll go with number
right.
one. For me, I'm going to be excited to kind of see how this is going to go down because 2 years in a row, Fred's over there talking about Henry McKenna being the best there is in the world, and
Yep.
now we're
Let's see.
Now we're gonna do
now
it
we
right.
can
That
expose him.
was in a competition, by the way. I was just one judge of 40. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Now I'm one of three fuckers.
we're narrowing it down. We're making the competition better.
So the first one, I'm definitely picking up some grainy notes.
A lot of these are going to be, they're all going to be young. Except
well, no,
for
they're not going to be young.
McKenna.
There's definitely going to be some that are.
McKenna's only probably, most of them I'd say are probably 4 or younger, right?
We brought in a.
Well, except the Heaven Hill.
They can't be younger than 4.
Well, 4 or older. Yep.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. So the one thing that I think is we're going to find unique as we go through here is there's going to be one that's going to be sort of an outlier, and that's going to be the 1792 because the Bottled in Bond that the 1792 pick is actually a store selection, right? So it is a single barrel. It's a one-off. It's not going to be some of the normal 1792 you see out there.
Let's just taste and
another
find out. What do we
flawed,
want to do? Are we wanting to rank them 1 through 3? Are we wanting to pick the best?
I'd say you pick your top 3.
Let's pick our top 3. Okay. So by tasting number 1, I'm eliminating it from my round. It's just too grainy. It's very alcohol forward.
If you were to try to pinpoint number 1,
And if number two, if it's not the Dickel one, I'll be shocked.
Then you shouldn't be at San Francisco anymore.
yeah, that's
Oh, number 2's nose. Yeah.
that's Dickel, all right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Dickel is a recent entrant to the market. And I think it's gone over fairly well with the community of people that are, getting into it, trying Tennessee bourbon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so there is an opportunity to actually have George Dickel be a part in here.
And that's like a 13-year, isn't it?
It's old.
This George Dickel, it doesn't have an age statement on it.
They have a 13-year release.
Okay.
This is the non-age stated version, though.
Yeah.
Actually, enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean,
much more than number one.
One thing I'll say about Dickel is it is often flawed in competition because that particular note, that kind of like minerality, the Flintstone-y note, really can stand out in a bad way for a taster.
Yeah.
So if you're tasting a sea of things that are very caramel forward and vanilla, and you get that note, it can be very off-putting, or it can be very good and can help it stand out.
Stand out, yeah.
So it's one of those. It's either a love it or hate it in competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. On that one, I didn't get the vitamin on the front end, but it's really there on the finish.
And I would recommend also make sure you rinse it when you get like some of that lingering.
That lingering taste in your mouth, to kind of rinse it out. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, so
what do you think number one was, Fred? Just guess.
I would say if I'm, and this is the hardest part of a blind tasting, is picking out what it is, right? But I would say it's definitely one of the younger ones. I'd probably put it in the league of like J.W. Dant or maybe the Evan Williams, but I don't know.
Okay.
Kind of it had like a cinnamon spice finish that I usually get in old Bardstowns, maybe, but I could be way off. I'm probably way off.
And I'll tell you too, it is like if you're focusing on what it is instead of what is best in the flight, then you're not focusing on the tasting. So
we'll stop.
I would recommend like trying to like figure out what they are later, because that can actually be fun.
Yeah, I'm already moving on to number 3.
Gave us notebooks.
I gave you notebooks so you can try to
barrel picks. One of them just says negative.
Negative. That's how I love it. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
No, I just moved on to number 3. Now I love the nose on number 3. I thought it's very caramel forward.
Yeah, it is nice.
The taste ended up being a little, I don't want to say bitter, but kind of thinned out and a little astringent towards the end. So like you give the thumbs up on the nose. The taste is like M in the middle, and the finish is kind of blocky.
I actually think the palate's got like this kind of a Kool-Aid-y. It's got like a Kool-Aid aftertaste.
Yeah, like fake sugar.
Yeah,
like kind of
it's
processed flavored
kind of weird
pack.
Mm-hmm. Kool-Aid packs,
like when you take a Crystal Light pack and
you just spooned it.
You forgot to put water in it.
Yeah, so 3.
I'm gonna put 3 as a maybe.
Yeah, it sucked. It's a maybe.
It's a maybe.
It's a suck.
It's a maybe when we go down
You're
here.
saying there's a chance.
There is a chance that it could go somewhere.
Yeah.
So Fred, kind of talk about when we got all these bottled and bonds up here. I know you've got a hard on for McKenna a little bit, but
Could you all get off this damn McKenna thing? I was one judge.
It was a blind tasting, Kenny. There was nothing.
God.
You couldn't help that's what he picked.
I mean, it beat like a $10,000 scotch, and I was just one vote in that.
How about it then? I guess Fred, one new entrant that we actually have up here that I think is might hopefully blow some socks off. And it's kind of been
New Riff,
right?
Don't focus on what it is. Focus on the whiskey and
no. But I kind of want to talk about New Riff and how they. Golly, you guys are just off the rocker already.
I mean, he's like, we're trying to work here,
I know.
Ryan. And he's like, I'm talking about New Riff.
Now I'm gonna think it's New Riff. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, I just kind of want to talk about, their Bottled and Bond, coming into the market and actually having that be their first entrant, right? And I think Wilderness Trail did the same exact thing.
Wouldn't that be some shit if number 4 was New Riff, and while he was talking about it?
It just happened to be it.
Yeah.
And now the placebo effect.
I actually do like number 4 a lot.
Too. It kind of tastes like New Riff.
I know.
It's got that like butterscotch kind of like.
I know. It's like he planted it in our head.
I get like a cinnamon note on the back of it.
There is cinnamon, but kind of it's like a lot of typical
Nutmeg.
New Riff.
And it's got that fried pie crust that I love.
Fried pie crust, man. You got some awesome tasting notes. Between you and Ryan, I gotta up my game on it. That's for sure.
You just gotta eat a lot. That's what
I do eat a lot.
And the
but-
thing is, it's none of it's fake. I know people want to say like it's fake, but this is like, I mean, I've trained and studied and really tried to connect to everything I've ever tasted. And it all goes back to when I'm trying to get better from Iraq, and I was using mindfulness techniques and tasting. And I would used to one of my therapy things was I would break down what barbecue potato chips tasted like and felt like on my tongue, and that would help keep me grounded. And I just applied that to bourbon, and so that's kind of been my technique. So,
So start off with going down your local grocery aisle, finding different kinds of chips and pulling the flavors.
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to gain 10 pounds automatically, but the risk you take.
Grab like 10 varieties of fried apple pies. You know those.
Well, I'll grab 10 different varieties of like Hot Pockets, and we'll start there, right?
Then you burn
Are you
the
a
roof of
Hot
your
Pocket
mouth.
guy?
No, I'm not a Hot Pocket guy. Now, back in college, I
What
was a
about
Hot
Pop-Tarts and like streusels?
I used to be.
I did love toaster strudels because you got to design your own
Yeah,
art on there. You know, it's
Oh,
like-
man. But the thing is, like, with the Pop-Tarts, like, I'd only go for 2 flavors. It's brown sugar, cinnamon, and then the wild berry. Like, those are the only 2 that I would actually go for. Beyond that, like, I'm not a strawberry jam person
I like
or
the
whatever.
chocolate ones. They were good.
I really did like number 4, by the way.
Yeah, 4 is really good.
Okay.
4 is a check for me.
4 is a checkbox.
Yeah.
Going to 5.
All right, moving on to 5
I
here.
feel like it's hard to analyze color in here because it's so dark,
Yeah.
but
yeah, I mean, we got a wide
This
variety
is
here.
really grainy.
You mean on the nose, it's getting a little too grainy for you?
it does have like that. You go to the fairgrounds and they're serving the cotton candy. You go to the cotton candy booth. It's
Yeah.
like that cotton candy
I
smell.
got some rye notes or something. To
I mean,
it.
I just did a taste, and I think you kind of get some of that cotton candy in a little bit on the back of it. You get some grape Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it does. Kind
Kind of funky.
a lot of rye notes on that. For me, anyways.
So I'll
It's
ask.
pretty good though.
I'll ask you all. When was the last time you all had some of these other bottled and bonds that are just regular kind of shelf stuff? So like Old Bardstown, Old Granddad,
So I was gonna
Evan
say,
Williams.
I feel like this is Old Bardstown.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I think this is Old Bardstown, number 5,
Yeah, I now
it
think
had-
it is Old Bardstown.
because it has that like a particular oak note in there that I get from their stuff.
I mean, I've always early times for me is like an always.
Oh, I love
everyday.
the new early
bottled and
times.
bond. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's
I haven't spent a lot of time with early times, but of what we have up here that I've been drinking the shit out of is New Riff, and I've been drinking so much of their cash drink stuff. The whiskey's so good.
it is it is incredible what they've been able to accomplish.
Okay,
It's
now
such-
we go to the first glass. It's not a Glencairn.
Well, I think we definitely made a mistake of not labeling these glasses either, because now me and you are
like counting,
we're literally like
we're all
counting.
doing it.
2, 3, 4,
Literally
5.
counting. Like we're on number 6 already, and we're trying to like go through these.
Yeah.
So I do like the nose on. I do like the nose on
note-
this a lot.
This has probably been my favorite nose thus far. Everything you want in a bourbon nose.
Oh my god.
That's got a
That's
full package
delicious.
right there.
Yeah.
That's a full package. That's a check plus for me.
What else? So when we say full package, what are you putting that in reference to? What is your baseline? Not in bourbon. I'm talking about in life.
In life?
What's your baseline for a full package, Kenny?
Well, I mean, it just
And
hits all.
what are you referring to package?
Oh my gosh! Last time I'm drinking with you all, Aaron again.
We should do
we're
this more
spitting.
often, by the way.
Maybe.
I'm so glad we picked this over like lawsuits or something. They were like texting last night, and I like put my phone down for like an hour, and I come back, there's 30 texts, and I'm like, we're not doing these. We're gonna do the bottle and bond. It'll be much more fun.
That was way.
So anyway, to my full package, what I kind of think of it is like it just hits the check boxes. It's got the nose, it's got the flavors, and when I think of flavor, like it's nothing that's crazy. It's nothing that is off the wall. It's a one-off. Like it is hitting, most of the high notes that you get on a bourbon flavor wheel. You've got caramel, you've got oak, you've got pepper, you've got some of those things, and it still lingers just a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
with all these being 100 proof, we're not going to see something that's going to sit there and just like the finishes keep going and going and going, right? I mean, I think
Or
with
maybe we will.
Maybe we will, but I would think with 100 proof, and I'm not going to act like I've got a refined palate by any means, but I think that I typically only see that happening with barrel proof whiskey as something that like I could still sit back like 30 seconds later and it's still like those flavors are still coating my mouth and my tongue.
Sometimes I get them at, if you have like, I've had a lot of good Four Roses, like the 100 proof, what is it?
Single barrel.
Single barrel, sorry.
Yeah,
That,
the OBSV.
yeah, that like, you can tell the spices from the grains and not from the alcohol, and the finish just kind of lingers on there. And so that, I really like that one. The finish was a little flat for me, but it hit all the check boxes on nose, front, mid palate.
Six had some layers to it. I would say revisit that one. When we're done here, because that's definitely a contender.
Yeah. Hopefully, we're not doing like confirmation bias on each other, and we're just like, oh yeah.
Oh no! If I disagree with you, I will totally tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and I know that Ryan will be quick to say, fuck you, So, but in his own way,
thumbs
in his
down,
own heartwarming way.
Do a thumbs down.
He'll be like, well, I don't really agree with you on that, but I know where you're coming from, though.
Yeah,
Fred, I agree to disagree with you.
and then Kenny will be like, well, I just don't get that.
Yeah,
I'm
this
going over
sucks.
here. This doesn't have the
This
full
just is not
package for
it.
me.
that or I'll say, let's change this. Let's change the subject real quick.
What is that?
On to the next one.
What does that look like?
But seriously, on to the next one.
I got my first neat glass.
Me too. Number 7. I think we all got neat glass.
It's changing everything.
And
for me.
if I'm gonna go on a limb, if anybody's gonna guess on one thing, I'm gonna say number 7 is gonna be the old granddad Bottled-in-Bond. I think it's okay. It's basic. It's either me that or it's Evan Williams. It's one or the other. But I feel like it's cool. It's there. It's there. But I don't think like
I don't think it's old granddad.
I don't either. No,
I think this is 1792.
That's what I was gonna say. From the nose, it's got that. You talking about bananas?
No, you guys and your bananas.
Bananas.
But there's one thing that Ryan brought up a second ago when you talked about Four Roses. There's a few distilleries out there that don't come out with a Bottled-in-Bond product. Four Roses and Wild Turkey are two of them that kind of come up to mind.
You want to know why?
Yeah, I'd love to know why.
The books on the distilling season and not bringing them in is very difficult. So like Knob Creek, which is 100 proof, that could have 6 different distilling seasons in it. I mean,
Right.
the actual audit of a Bottled-in-Bond, it's actually very costly. Heaven Hill has it down because they've been doing it for so long, and they don't really change a lot of those older methods.
Do they still audit for Bottled-in-Bond?
Oh, if the federal government wants to audit, they will audit, and occasionally they will come in and audit. And what they do, they just look at paperwork. That's all they do. It's not like they're going in there and
Taking hydrometers.
yeah, they're not doing anything like that. But it's pretty fascinating to see like how
Evan's got a
costly
really
it can
good
be.
finish, kind of lingering.
So do you think that creating a Bottled-in-Bond product, is it just more paperwork nowadays at the end of the day, and maybe that's why Wild Turkey, Four Roses, and people like that just don't worry about it?
It always comes down to position in the marketplace. And when you look at where Bottled-in-Bond was 15 years ago, Heaven Hill owned it. Nobody was getting near it. No one cared.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bernie Lubbers starts kind of striking the
Gets a
the
tattoo
bartender.
of it.
I mean, he changes. That man changed the perception of the bartender community for Bottled-in-Bond. And then so other people started tacking on. The new distillers started coming on. They're like, we want to be Bottled-in-Bond. We want to be old school. And then people like Brown Foreman said, we need to get back into Bottled-in-Bond. So you see Early Times. You see all kinds of efforts from a lot of places. And people like Four Roses and Wild Turkey have always been about Four Roses and Wild Turkey. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to necessarily get in kind of like a categorical lump with those particular brands. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know. But Wild Turkey has kind of been very anti 100 proof. So the 100, for them, it comes down, they're 101.
Absolutely.
So like their entire branding is around 101.
Yeah.
And that's very specific.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Bottled-in-Bonds are like perfect for cocktails, by the way, too. Like
I
100
agree.
proof, like, it's a lot of them are young enough and there's enough proof there that they stand up to a lot of sweet ingredients. So
And-
it's like,
The nose on aid is really nice.
And the other thing about the cocktail side is that, yes, it's got enough proof that keeps it there, but the Bottled-in-Bond, this market of what we're looking at anything from a $15 bottle up to a $50 bottle. I think 50 is the high when I was going through this. So Wilderness Trail Bottled-in-Bond is the highest there. It was 50. I believe it was between the Evan Williams Bottled-in-Bond and the Jim Beam Bond and maybe the JW Dant as hitting some of the lower price point there.
Medic.
Yeah, call him Medic. Ryan just choked out over here.
yeah, I'm trying to spit, but it went too far down. No point of return. tried to
So
recover.
eight was very grain forward to me, and it had like kind of like an undercurrent of like developed grain, like in cornbread, which is a note I often get in some of the bean products.
I like cornbread.
It's got a real nice like cornbread with like a touch of like honey butter on it.
See, the thing is, I actually kind of still enjoy this one. There's something about it where
I didn't like it.
the finish is still there for me. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with a check on that one.
Ryan and I don't like it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
I
you know,
don't know. It just
it's only a 33% vote over here, so you know that's how it is.
that's right.
All right, so
number 9.
No, moving on to number 9. Man, we were rolling through these awful quickly, aren't we?
When you got 12 to get there,
Yeah, we're gonna have to. And so,
right one?
and so I got another question I'll throw at you all because I remember this from I think it was in the Houston Bourbon Society
there's
or
the
one of the
banana.
other was. You know, it's
When it comes to my tastings and I'm
Sorry,
trying to be
Kenny.
analytical, I hate when people fucking talk to me. So this is like throwing me off.
I
a
know.
little bit.
Can't focus.
Kenny,
shut up.
Can we just
But it makes for a
taste?
terrible
Can we taste
podcast.
for a minute? It's true. Let's let him have a.
All right, I'll try to zone out, Kenny.
All right,
Just
ready? Okay.
blabber on.
All right, well, I'm not going to taste while you ask the question. Go ahead.
we gotta keep the conversation going.
All right.
we gotta keep the listeners engaged here, right?
But you can ask Jessica. I like close the door and I'm like, I'm writing. I'm doing this. Leave me alone.
Well, we gotta make you break out of the mold here. See, you hang out with us and you don't wear ascots anymore, right? So
That's true.
we're making you break out of your mold.
It's fucking hot out there too. I don't have to be on stage, so.
So there was, I think it was a question that brought up by Wade. You know, we love Wade, friend of the show. He's got a lot of bourbon knowledge out there, and he said, you know, is it true or false that is every warehouse a bonded warehouse?
It comes down to the law. Not everything's stored in a warehouse, but in terms of like, you know, they have to have it. It cannot be in a non-bonded. The government has to know where it is, and it is very much on the watch list. Now, is it a marked bonded warehouse? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean there was artisan Kentucky Artisan Distillery was aging in containers, shipping containers for a long time, and then they were aging outside for a long time, and it would later be Jefferson's the Groth product.
Mm-hmm.
But the government knew what those were, and they had to be that paperwork had to be submitted.
Okay, well, see, there's an
Hell,
answer.
you even have to have like a bonded. Kenny and I have ran into this. Like when you do a transfer and bond from
one
distillery to another.
Yeah, you have to
have
transfer.
a bonded transfer, like a semi truck.
Now this
bonded.
isn't anything that you have
I was like, can I just
to-
go pull up? I got an F-150.
No one comes in and inspects it per se, but the paperwork has to be there.
Absolutely.
And if it's not, then you know they get in when that audit comes, which the audits don't come. You know they don't always come. So like you could get away with, you know, doing that. And I know people who distilled, you know, illegally and then had a distillery and they added their old stuff into it. That was illegal. But it happens.
It does happen. So I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say number 9. It might be my least favorite of everything we've tried so far.
I really like the nose, but gosh, the finish on this, it just tastes like grass and like dirt. I don't know.
I'm just not a fan of it.
I'm ready to move on to 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, okay, can this one be over because I can't deal with it anymore. I don't know, we might burn a bridge there, but you know, it's just not there for me.
You got to stop worrying about the bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
you've been
engineers. I don't hate it as much as you guys, but it's not a contender for me. It's grainy. It's got alcohol undertones to it. It's got some sweetness, but it's not an end of the world bourbon. Like it's not making me mad like you.
Well,
I mean, he's fuming.
yeah,
here.
I am off my rocker right now, just going crazy.
All right, number 10.
Yeah, I guess moving on to number 10. We are rolling through these. I guess Fred,
one,
you do these tastings a lot. Like how often or how fast can you go through like 15 bourbons? From forest to still, Bull Run Distillery whiskeys are using some of the best water in the U.S. They're also experimenting by aging them in different types of barrels, including cognac, Madeira, and Pinot Noir barrels. 2 of their whiskeys are being featured by Rack House Whiskey Club in their October box. Made from 96% corn, Bull Run's American whiskey is the lightest and sweetest product they offer and has very little barrel character to it. Accompanying that in the Rack House Whiskey Club box is a Pinot Noir finished whiskey. It's the same American whiskey, but finished in French oak barrels. You really have to try these two side by side to see what barrel aging can do. And you can do that by checking out Rack House Whiskey Club. They're a Whiskey of the Month club on a mission to uncover the best flavors and stories that craft distilleries across the U.S. have to offer. Rack House boxes ship out every 2 months to 40 states. Go to rackhousewhiskeyclub.com to check it out and try these unique whiskeys. Use code PURSUIT for $25 off your first box. What defines Distillery 291 Colorado whiskey is its spirit. Passion permeates every sip. Since day one, Distillery 291 distills from grain to barrel to bottle by hand, distinctive Colorado whiskey. Utilizing grains from the Colorado Plains and water collected from Pikes Peak's reservoirs, 291 Colorado whiskey is handmade the Colorado way. Everything matters. 291 Colorado whiskey has earned bushels of national and international awards for its spirits with the unique character and the flavor of a bygone era. Named World's Best Rye in 2018 by World Whiskey Awards, 7 liquid golds from Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible, 291 Colorado whiskey embodies the traditions of the past, married with the boldness of the future. Find a bottle near you at 291coloradowhiskey.com. Ride it like you stole it, drink it like you own it. Live fast and drink responsibly. How fast can you go through like 15 bourbons?
I'd be done now if you weren't asking me so many questions. No, but I'm pretty quick. It depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing it in competition, it depends on the competition. I have to adhere to the rules. If I'm doing it for myself, for my own little fucking thing I do.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is I do. Or if I'm just trying to taste. You know, the big part is like, do I have someone there helping me? Because I don't always have someone helping me. And it's hard to pour for yourself. And I mean, we do 200 products. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But I can, I usually try to spend 2 minutes with the glass. And the thing is, my whole thing is I want to give every glass its chance. It's not someone put a lot of time and attention and effort to make it. If I'm going to taste it analytically, I need to give that same kind of time and attention, or at least
and you do something different. You taste things multiple times before you give it a rating, right?
That's right. I will taste 3 times because right now, I mean, I'm just coming off a cold. Remember, I texted you guys yesterday that I lost my palate. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I lost my palate. I woke up. I went out.
See, that's good.
Then he went to the bars and found it.
I feel like we're on a level playing field then. Right?
Not
Yeah, exactly. We're down.
Last night, I went
Fred
out.
at his late.
I went out with drinking with my friend, and I woke up this morning. I was like, "Oh, I'm back, baby!" It's like all that whiskey cleared it. It was like so. I'm just coming off the 3 festivals, and I've been pretty worn down, and now I'm back. And I mean, today I could tell it was back, But and if you have an onion, if you what you have for breakfast influences your palate, our surroundings influences. Right now we're in a construction area. That little bit of dust smell that's out there can influence what you're picking up. The lights can have something. The fact that someone's saying talking out there can influence. I mean, there's so many influences. So that when I'm actually tasting. By myself, I like to be in a kind of like as much of a soundproof room as possible. No music, nobody bugging me, and it's just me and the glass.
You can do a whiskey quickie. Can take 3 days to give it a thumbs up, thumbs down.
No, the way you all do that's great.
Well, and I guess I'll kind of give you I'll throw one back at you here, Fred, because we catch some heat every once in a while because people think that 60 seconds, that's not long enough for a whiskey review, and I kind of go on the other side of that, and I'm like, well, as soon as you taste something, you kind of realize if you like it or not.
Yeah. How many times does it take? Like, do you ever come back and you're like?
Yeah, there's no way. There's not
actually.
There's how many times I would think that you went from something that you're just like, this is like a 65 to a 95, right? Like,
not that big, not that much of a.
You gotta understand, we're not scoring it on a point scale here. We're just saying like thumbs up, middle of the road, thumbs down, right?
So there have been a few that went from like 80 to 85 or 88. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Just a few points then.
Yeah, I mean, it's never really, too much, but it is there. And the big thing I think, we have to what you have to determine, as now that you all are kind of getting in the critic role, is like, what is your base? What is your base? And for me, my base has always been Evan Williams Black Label. That's an 86-point whiskey. Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, when someone rates that, when someone says that is 60 points or 45 points or something, you're essentially saying it's undrinkable. Evan Williams Black Label is very drinkable, and it can be enjoyed sip. It can be in a cocktail. It's very versatile, and like that is my base. So if I find myself in a situation where I am being very low. Like I was rating some stuff really, really low for a long period. I went back to taste Evan Williams Black Label to make sure I was
not crazy.
And I was like, nope, I'm right, because these are not better than Evan Williams Black Label. And it was like, it was the one that did it for me. It was like 3 years ago. It was Eagle Rare 17-year-old, and then also the Parker's Heritage came out. That was really, really bad, and I was like, God, I mean, I'm about to rate these two things under an 80. And it was like, that's like really, really low for those two products. Yeah. And so I went back and tasted my base, and it was like, okay, yeah, I feel firm in that. So you have to like come to your base of like, what is your thumb, what barely makes your thumb up, and then what barely makes your thumbs down. That will always help you as a reviewer, because you have to have something to lean on. Because if you don't, you want to be consistent. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks to you, our base is Henry McKenna. We're always like, if it's better than Henry McKenna, we like it.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
not, then
That's
no.
true. That's true. I mean, that's kind of what started us down our path of launching Pursuit series was like, hey, we'll if this is better than Henry McKenna, we'll do this.
Yeah.
And so we had a first barrel sample, and that's
Good for you.
Well,
Good for you.
That's another story here or there. But I kind of want to talk about.
Maybe I should flip the podcast on YouTube about why you started.
Well, we can
Pursuit series.
definitely do a podcast
I was
about that
thinking
one
about
day.
that last night, but then I was like, I don't want to
Very
promote ourselves.
self-fulfilling
It's all about
prophecy.
Hotel Distill. and
it won't be self-promotion when I'm asking
Yeah.
questions. It's good.
But,
Oh, God.
By the way, before we go to this, number 10.
Oh yeah, 10.
I put check plus. I was
no way. No.
really.
No.
I enjoyed number 10.
10 was very woody for me.
See, that's me. I like my tannins.
I'm just
I like my
praying that
tannins.
one of these ones that Fred doesn't like is Henry McKenna. Like, I'm totally kidding.
Well, so this is
I'm
another-
not kidding though.
So the one thing here about Henry McKenna is that it's a single barrel, right? It's nothing that is it's batch. It's not Solera aged. It's not whatever it is. It is a single barrel offering. It's nothing else like it. We had the opportunity to catch up with Josh Hafer one time and talk about after it won San Francisco and say like, listen, were y'all picking cherry barrels? Like, were y'all just sending 2 bottles that you knew or 3 bottles that you knew that were just like primo, pristine, like gonna knock the socks off? And he said, Kenny, this is exactly what happened. I make one phone call down to the warehouse. Ryan, we've all been into the warehouse at Heaven Hill. There's just pallets stacked of just boxes and things are moving everywhere. Made a phone call. Said, hey, I need you to take 3 bottles out of a box. Here's the address to ship them to. And that's it. There was no cherry picking. There was nothing like that.
And remember, Henry McKenna won Best Bourbon the year before.
Yes.
I would
remember
believe that, but like everyone you talked to at Heaven Hill had the same exact story. Like same exact, like it's like they fed it to him. Like, this is what we need to do.
I went back in the judges, when we unveiled the bottles, all the bottles were the same barrel number. Mm-hmm. And so that makes that a little bit more believable, is because they said it came from one case, and as far as I know, they case up their barrels all the same. They don't intermingle.
Yeah.
And so that is the only thing I can think of. And also, the year before, they won with Henry McKenna. And the second thing is, what nobody ever wants to give any credit to is that there are more than 40 judges there from around the world, the greatest palates in the world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm
Because you're on it.
I'm not just saying that. But like I'm talking about people who run the hotels in Macau, people who run Wynn Las Vegas. These people are ultra respected for their palates, and they are human.
Yes.
What they think is a honey barrel at Heaven Hill could be a shit turd.
Over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I gave 2 years in a row
That's true, yeah.
on my panel, I did not medal Pappy. 2 years in a row. And you know what? Pappy's good. I mean, and I didn't medal it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what does that say? What does that say? I mean, you don't know how the judges are going to react, and you don't know what panel they're going to get on. If they're on my panel, maybe they know my panel.
We submitted Pursuit Series, and Fred was like, "I didn't even get that on my panel." And
Yeah.
I was like,
Absolutely. So you never have any idea.
So like there'll be 200-300 bourbons that come in. There's other judges I can't and they split them out. And yes, they do make me drink vodka.
Oh gosh,
So-
you poor thing. You poor thing. You.
By the way,
Thank you for making the sacrifice for doing that as well.
you bet. 11's amazing. I like
Yeah.
11 a lot.
11. So 11 I did a check minus. I thought it was good, but it wasn't all the way there for me.
"Yeah, I thought it was average for me.
I love 11 a lot.
I'm already on 12.
I like 12 a lot. It's
yeah.
kind of got some like floral.
Really? Because I'm the exact opposite. I'm
unique.
I'm putting it 12 as one of the bottom of the buckets for me. I don't know what it. I'll try to go back to
it
it.
smells like floor sweepings.
Yeah, I'm just not
The
a fan
throw
of
up
it.
packets the Kenny's always talk about.
I usually talk about that when I talk about rye whiskey. That I always get this note with some rye whiskeys of if you recall back in grade school and somebody would he had a classmate that puked on the floor and you had a janitor that went and put the shavings on top of it. That's always a note for somehow that I always get off stuff.
Yeah, that's a real note. That Green Hand whiskey had that note for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it enough to put in my top 3.
So I think now it's time we go ahead.
But we need to retaste
Yes,
need to,
retaste your tops.
Your top 5.
Retaste your tops for sure. Anything you got a checkbox or a yes or whatever it is that you go through.
So I use arrows. Mm-hmm. And I'll do 1 arrow if I'm excited about it, 2 arrows if I love it, 3 arrows if I'm about to go in the room with it.
There you go. I'll tell you what. I went back to number 3, and 3 is just coming back from 12. It's just got super caramel nose to
3?
it. I put a maybe checkbox next to it. Doesn't mean anything to me yet as we keep going.
I love 3's nose.
Mm-hmm.
3 is got too much. It's over herbally for me.
Mm-hmm.
3 is over herbally.
What do you mean? What's over herbally to you?
So think of herbs like dill, oregano. Sometimes those are candied. It's a medicinal herbal. It's a no for me. 3's out.
Yeah, that's for
I
you.
kind of get that.
I'm still kind of there. I don't know. For me, I'm still kind of there on it. But
I'm gonna exit for me.
well, I think that's.
So if we need a repour, who's repouring it for us?
We do not need a repour.
We don't need a pour.
There is way too much out here that we do not need a repour. So I'm moving. I'm gonna go between 3, 4, 6, 8, and 10, maybe 11, and I'll choose my top 3 out of that.
4 is in for me from the nose.
I don't want to say it's one dimensional, but maybe we've gone through this and we're trying it for the 15th time. There's something in the taste that just doesn't have it there for me. And for me, I'm looking for caramel. I'm looking for oak. I'm looking for some of those things, and 4 just doesn't have it there for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of knock that one off my list.
You're pulling 4 out of your list.
I'm pulling 4 out of my list,
but it's in his top 5. Remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's still if it
it means
comes down-
something.
Did anybody have, even though they knew what it was, did anybody have 2? I had 2 in mine.
No.
Top 5.
I think you're right. I think it was too easy to pick it out. I'll go back to it, only because I think it definitely deserves to be up there. It was too easy to pick it out.
And it is bourbon.
It is bourbon.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll look it to you guys and kind of pose this question to you as as stocks start depleting, as higher aged whiskeys available in the market are not there anymore. Really, the one thing that we see that's very common is we see 10 to 14 and 15-year-old Tennessee product that is now available. Do you think that's going to help change some consumers' mind about actually having, very aged product that's in the market versus something that's only like 4 to 6 years old?
I mean, Fred and them, they've given barrels kind of proven that there's some really good stuff coming out of.
I think barrel bourbon is an anomaly. They are such good blenders.
Yeah.
And they blend out a lot of that really unsavory note that I find in some of the Dickel products.
And honestly, I just put a Check Plus next to a Dickel. Like, it's too good. I don't know. Maybe, I know most of these, pretty much all these except that one are coming from Kentucky, but there is something about it that I think most people, if you've never had that kind of product before, you got to give it a try. Because if you haven't and you just immediately think, oh, Tennessee, screw that, I'm not going to drink it, and you haven't tried it, then you're not really giving it a fair chance and a fair opportunity, because there's a lot of good products that you can't get.
I got a question for both of you.
Oh, here we go.
How do you put, when you're tasting, like I try to surround my mouth, I'm looking at my spit cup in comparison to Ryan's, and it's like, oh, Kenny's been drinking the whole time.
I'm empty. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, mine is full. I put a lot in my mouth to kind of surround it. How much do you put in your mouth to find out?
Are we talking milliliters or ounces?
I'm doing baby pours over here, right?
Okay.
I'm just doing baby pours, just enough to like maybe
coat the tongue.
I think what you're looking for is like an overall, like, are you chewing it kind of thing.
So this is very important to me as a taster. Yeah. Like, I have to make sure that, because if you just put a baby pour on there, you're getting a small snippet of what that whiskey is. Now, you all have been doing this long enough. I don't have to worry about discrediting it some because of a mouthfeel perspective. But mouthfeel to me is so important. That's why I like to make sure I can at least feel it down my jawline.
Mm-hmm. But there's also, I think, something that is you also miss by also not consuming it and being able to say, like, okay, if we spit it out, are you missing something?
Well, keep in mind, I have to, when I'm doing this, I'm normally getting like 1,500, so exactly. I'd be dead, which I know some people would like that, but it's not going to happen.
You're talking to him over here. No, I'm just kidding.
I got my top 3.
You got your top 3 already?
Yeah. I went out on a tangent here.
Yeah, I'm still, okay, I'm going back to number 6 because I had a Check Plus. Probably doesn't mean I actually need to go back to it, but.
Yeah, I'm with you on 6. It's checks all around. It's good stuff.
But see, when I do take a little baby pour, though, I still try to get it in my jawline. I still chew a little bit and try to have it cover my tongue.
Yeah.
But I also am not the way that it's just like, it's not like a full like quarter ounce in my mouth either, right? I've got to have just enough that I can savor the flavor, be able to get it to the point where I'm like actually chewing on it to my back molars. But other than that,
4 and 6 are 1 and 2 for me, or in that they're right there. I have a runoff between 7 and 11, and I need to be removed from this. I need you to like.
You need to be kicked off the panel.
No, I need these to be given to me where I don't know what they are. Is what I'm saying.
Well, you don't know what they are.
No, I know what they are. I know this is 11.
All right.
And I know this is 7.
All right. Well, turn around or put your hands above your eyes and just give them to Ryan.
Jessica, get over here. I don't know.
7's in the other glass. I'm already gonna know.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. It doesn't
matter. A neat glass.
But this is how I do things. Like if I get like really tied to a particular one. So now what I have to do, I have to like assess this from like what I like more about it. And so
my mouth's like tingling right now.
Yeah, it's
kind of getting shot.
Yeah. I need to find out which I like more, 7 or 11, and we may have like a tie.
Well, I don't like either, so I'll solve that for you.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I'm kidding.
It's a consensus. Pursuit consensus. Sometimes you go back to something and you taste it and you're like, maybe I didn't realize I liked that as much as I did the first time.
It's called drinking.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm gonna go with 11 over 7 due to a very, very accentuated note that I happen to love.
Bananas.
Not bananas.
What is it?
No.
Marzipan.
It's not marzipan. It's cornbread. but a particular like the Jiffy cornbread, not like the sweeter cornbread. So I'm going with 11. So my picks are 4, 6, and 11.
4, 6, and 11. Okay, so we got Fred.
Now I didn't put that in order. Do you want me to order that?
Nope, that's fine. So Fred at 4, 6, and 11. Ryan, you got your top 3?
I have 4, 6, and 10.
Oh gosh, you guys are on point over here. So I'm gonna go a little bit different. I've got 6, of course.
Okay.
So I think 6 is by far that's in our top.
11 was close though for me.
I also had 10
Okay.
and 11. So I had 6, 10, and 11.
Okay, so 6 and 11 are definitely in the top 2.
Yeah.
Is
Okay,
that-
absolutely.
I'm
So-
fine with that.
Are we all ready for the reveal?
What's on the third? Do we want it because we want to do the third? So we all had like a.
We're split.
I had 4, and you.
Yeah,
what,
me and you had 4.
You had 4.
Kenny didn't.
I had 10.
Me and
Okay.
Kenny had 10. We're all.
Well, actually,
there's no
it's
way
kind
to-
of like a 3-way split right there.
Yeah.
So we basically had 4, 6, 10, and 11 were our favorites.
Okay.
Of
Okay.
us 3. So we'll just take those as the 4. You ready for the reveal?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it.
All right. So number 1.
All right.
Number 1. Everybody remembers this. We all kind of put an X on it. This was the Wilderness Trail Bottled-in-Bond.
I said I thought it might be J.W. Dant.
So
Remember that?
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Number 2, we were all right. George Dickel.
Dickel.
But the thing is that like I really enjoyed it. I would honestly put that out there as my top. But when we look at stuff that's across the market and people that are going for, I think we look at the Kentucky bourbons of what people really want. The George Dickel note, like you love it or you hate it. It's
Yeah.
one or the other.
It's
Okay.
And so
It's polarizing.
you just got to find it.
Yeah.
Here it is. Number 3, Henry McKenna.
Wow.
Number
wow.
3 is Henry McKenna.
3. I had X's.
Look what I put. I put a line through it.
But
Yeah.
put a
Means
line
I didn't
through
like it.
See?
Then let me retaste it.
It happens. It happens.
I know.
Yeah,
I've
no.
had some McKennas though. They're just
No,
like,
this does not smell good.
So, but then again, remember, we talked about this.
Oh, now I like it. No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't like it.
Single barrel offering.
No, I
This-
don't.
It's different.
McKenna Falls.
McKenna Falls this one time. Number 4,
New
Heaven,
riff.
Heaven Hill, the new Bottled-in-Bond Heaven Hill.
Ah, shit.
Right? So it
Shit.
so
Fuckers.
it lands in the top 4.
Yeah.
It lands in the top 4.
I think that was number 1 because we were so
I know, I
we
liked it.
really liked it.
You did. Both of you
I
put
really
it.
liked it.
We both
of
really
you put
liked
that
it.
as your number
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
See? There you go.
And
That's how it happens.
this was my second guess of what it was. Was it Old Bardstown, number 5?
You are on point, my
It was Old
friend.
Bardstown?
Old Bardstown is number 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I should have wrote down what I
forward.
guessed. I can't remember.
But listen, here we go. This is the one that I'm most proud about because I thought I guessed it, and I love this brand. I love the product they're making. Number 6 is the Early Times Bottled.
Yeah.
that was
yeah.
nice. That 6 was really good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Exactly. So I still stand by it. I say that is the best 1 liter of bourbon that you can
Oh, yeah.
buy in the
20
market
bucks.
for 20 something
And
odd
was
dollars.
1792.
Damn,
That's what I
Fred.
thought.
Yeah.
You'd think that you like somebody's just like mind reading over here. I'm just like sending you like notes of
No,
how this is
no.
happening. No,
Jessica
you,
texted him
No, I
all
really
the
do.
results beforehand.
I really do drink for a living. It's true.
So 1792, the Bottled-in-Bond. This was a pick that was done by the Wine Rack here in Louisville. So that was that one. Number 8. You want to have a guess?
I didn't have a guess on this
no,
one.
it's just a negative.
All right. Well, this is probably the most common bourbon you're going to find in the market. It is the Evan Williams Bottled-in-Bond.
Ah.
Right? So there you go. Number 9 is the Jim Beam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 9 was 2 X's.
2 X's.
For me, sorry.
I mean, I literally wrote down. I hate doing this because I love the Bouquereau family. It's just like I literally wrote down
The
next to-
worst.
I said the worst. I said the worst of all of it, and I'm just not a fan of it. That's just how it is. Sorry. Number 10. So for me, this was my second.
Yeah,
Ryan,
me
it was
too.
your third. This is New Riff.
New
Yeah.
riff.
Right?
Okay.
And like I said, this is one of the favorites that we all kind of love too. 11 is J.W. Dant. Fred, you had this as number 3.
Yeah.
J.W.
11
Dant.
was in my top 5.
This is
Along with the
this
Dickel.
This is kind of one of the. This is what Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond was like a few years ago. This is like that.
Pretty close to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so the last one, number 12, if you haven't narrowed it down yet, is Old Granddad.
Old Granddad.
Old Granddad. Which I actually put as maybe the second worst. So
The
I'm
Beam
sorry,
family.
I'm sorry, Jim Beam. Like it just for myself, it was probably the bottom of the barrel for myself.
So can we
no
go
pun
ahead
intended.
and can we go ahead and crown what we think is the best bottled and bond from this tasting?
Well,
Would it be 4?
if we're gonna go by the numbers, and
Yeah.
you say that you took
Six.
It'd be
4,
6.
you took 4, I
Yeah.
took 6 as my number 1, then
I took 6 as well. Did you take 6?
Yeah.
Then we all 3 took 6.
well, we all took 6. We all took 6, and so if we all took 6, that means that early times Bottled and Bond.
I was going to say that would be the one.
is going to be
Number
our
one.
winner here. That is, and for me personally, I totally agree.
I think And
that is-
here's the thing too. You at competitions, you grab the bottle, and you go around and you pour a little bit more of it, and you toast with it because really
I don't need to pour any more.
Thanks.
They poured some Hetty pours
this
before
is
the blonde here anyway. So
this is work, and congratulations,
Cheers, guys.
boys. We
Yeah, that was
selected
fun.
our very first Bourbon Pursuit winner of a category. I think we should do more of this. And
I'm very happy with it too. I mean, I think
Going into it, we've always talked about,
we talked about it.
or
other
me and
times,
Kenny
Bottled and
have
Bond.
anyways.
A lot of
You said
times.
you
no, I
haven't.
get cut out of every fucking conversation. You all.
No, it's
Too
not
busy
like
doing
that at all.
festivals.
No.
No, I'm kidding.
I joke, guys. I really do like working with you guys. I really do.
Absolutely. But I also want to say, like to the runner-up, the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond.
I know, I was surprised, but
you all-
I'm not surprised.
As much
It's
as you
just-
might want to hate it, but it was the second runner-up. You know,
Yeah.
it came for you all too. It was the number 1. But this one finished in everybody's top category, right?
Yeah.
So
but it was like, it was my number 1. But let's be honest, it was like a fraction of a point.
Right.
It was not. It was not like super ahead.
and you're looking at a $25 price point, I think, maybe $30 for a 1 liter versus $40 for a 750. Not too crazy of a difference. However, if you
And the Neuro is what, 55?
So the question is now, do we put it out on social media that we just did this?
well,
No,
I mean,
we can't spoil the surprise. We'll put it out that we did
put
it,
out
but
there.
you don't want to
We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I honestly, I will say though as well is that New Riff came as a pretty head contender up here too.
Yeah, it came in, and the one that shocked me.
It came in 2 of our top 3s.
It did. The one that shocked me was that Wilderness Trail didn't do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went on a pick of theirs recently, and I was pretty impressed.
Their whiskey is fantastic. Another one that
But they
shocked
also
me.
they small batch a lot of their stuff. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at the bottle, it actually has the bottle number and everything on there, so you know that it's just going to be continually getting, a little bit older, a little bit better as it continually goes.
And what else surprised me was that Jim Beam Bonded didn't do better.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
or Old Granddad Bond. A lot of people love that.
I mean, those Beam Bonded, they tend to be pretty pronounced with some notes that do well for me, and they were flat.
I know, I love Beam stuff, but I think it just needs time, like age, like
Yeah.
some of those knob
or
creeks
maybe proof.
Bookers. Yeah, or
it
proof.
might be,
yeah,
It might need proof, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
right. Yeah, because from your Above the Char a few weeks ago, you said proof can hide a lot of flaws.
Yeah, it can, because it's beating up your palate.
Yep.
That's how it is. And so, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This was an awesome episode. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode that we recorded here at Hotel Distill. It's located here in downtown Louisville in Whiskey Row. And for those that want to experience it, find something new, you want to find a space that you can actually be a part of, Whiskey Row, if you want to stay here, that's the actually unique experience.
Yeah.
We actually living and staying on Whiskey Row, I don't know, it's a pretty cool thing. So make sure you come. Check it out, Hotel Distill. It's an authentic Louisville destination. You can book your experience for it now at hoteldistilled.com, and it is going to be opening on September 1st of
November 1st
of 2019.
We've already been through
Yeah,
September.
And if you all would like to see more blind tastings like
let us
this,
know.
Let us know. I had a good time with you all. It's
This
fun
is fun.
tasting with you.
This is fun.
Yeah.
And actually, I thought Kenny did a good job kind of like going back and forth with us. He did.
Oh, yeah.
Without getting too much in my tasting head.
He's good at keeping the cadence going.
Yeah.
That's what he's always good for.
Yeah.
And doing the reads. I can't do that read right now.
Well, we gotta.
Good job.
We gotta make sure we do that. We gotta make sure that we stay on point. We gotta make sure we get our listeners like all the information they want to hear about it. So it's all
Good for you.
Yeah, it's just part of the process.
That's right.
You know how it is. So,
No, I don't.
So cheers, everybody. Make sure
Yep.
you follow Fred Minnick on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Bourbon Pursuit, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you like what you hear, make sure you support us. Patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. And with that, we will see you all next week.
Toodles.
Cheers.